This is from Susie Brown. We are pleased that this matter is nearing resolution. Currently, all cast members make at least the Measure L requirement of $19.90 per hour, and in fact, 95% of them make more. The company reached an agreement last summer with 4 unions representing 14,000 workers that raised base pay to $24 an hour. Now, here's the thing. It says $24 an hour. How much did I just tell you that an average worker needs to make in order to afford a 2-bedroom apartment in California? $24 an hour, $47 an hour. You do the math. Disney makes billions upon billions upon billions of dollars every single year. They're giving Bob Iger $31 million a year to run it. How much are the shareholders making in their dividend checks? All because they had a few extra coins and they put it into the stock. And yet, the people who actually make the wealth of Disney, the workers, are making peanuts. Zippity doo dah, zippity day, Disney's going to have to pay. My goodness, it is thrilling to me to see a giant that is a troll that is blocking the bridge from people walking across it, that now the troll gets their comeuppance. So I live in Orlando, where Disney World is, Walt Disney World, which is the biggest theme park in the world, is here. That big, round-eared baby that is to the south of me is basically birthed from the concept that was, originally planted in California, I think in Anaheim, California, years ago, from the mind of Walt Disney. And Disneyland, which is in California, so there's Disneyland, California, Disney World, Orlando, Florida, has had to pay, back money in wage theft because they stole wages from workers. And I am happy about it because this absolutely needs to happen. And it makes me excited because, workers need to have a win. So I'm going to share the article about that. And then we're going to talk about wage theft in general. But here's the article here. This is out of the LA Times. It says Disney agrees to pay $233 million settlement in wage theft case. So let's get into this. So this came out 4 days ago. 5 years after workers first took Disneyland to court for allegedly skirting an Anaheim minimum wage law, resort owner Walt Disney Company has agreed to settle a class action lawsuit for $233 million. The company approved the preliminary settlement Friday, which accounts for back pay with interest, as the Anaheim law is set to increase wages in January to nearly $20.50 an hour. What we believe is the largest wage and hour class settlement in California history will change lives for Disney families and their communities. That's from Randy Rennick, an attorney representing the workers in the class action suit. The settlement covers 55,000 current and former Disney employees. Back pay owed to workers from January 1st of 2019, when the wage law first took effect, until the date Disney adjusted wages at the end of the court fight last year, accounts for roughly $105 million of the total settlement. Melissa Partida, 58, has worked in room service at Disney's Grand Californian Hotel in Anaheim since it opened in 2001 and as a tip worker is earning $19.90 an hour under the city's wage law. Nearing retirement age, she expressed gratitude for the coalition of Disney unions that campaigned for the wage law as a ballot initiative in 2018 and the attorneys who litigated the subsequent court case. It is a big win, and we're happy. That's what she says the cost of living here is very expensive. I don't know how much back pay I'm going to get, but whatever it is, I didn't have it before. So here's the thing, and I want to make this abundantly clear. California is number one when it comes to the cost of living in the United States, according to the National Low Income Housing Coalition. The Out of Reach program that they did, they showed that you have to make over $45 an hour just to be able to afford a 2-bedroom apartment in California. And this is a massive wealth disparity. Actually, it's $47.38 an hour that you have to make. Let me share this with you guys too, just so that you guys can see the wealth disparity and how much you need to make, because I want to make sure that I share this as well. This is the Out of Reach that a lot of people, we typically show here on RBN as well as my channel. So the fair market rent for a 2-bedroom apartment is $2,464. In order to afford this level of rent and utilities without paying more than 30% of income on housing, a household must earn $8,212 monthly or $98,545 annually. Assuming a 40-hour work week, 52 weeks per year, this level of income translates to an hourly wage of $47.38 per hour. And some of the most expensive areas are Santa Cruz, Watsonville, San Francisco, San Jose, Sunnyvale, Santa Clara, Santa Maria, Santa Barbara, and Salinas. And these range between $55 an hour to $77.96 per hour that you need to make to afford a 2-bedroom apartment in California. With this being said, this is massive. And so places like Anaheim and California, if they're only making $25 an hour, that means they're making half of what they need to make in order to survive. And so no matter what, wage theft is one of the biggest forms, if not the biggest form of theft in the United States. The people who say, it's funny how the people who say that they are all about law and order. They are all about law and order until the corporations do the crime. Once the corporations do the crime, they're like, new phone, who this? And so this is the problem. But the problem really is because who is heading those corporations? It's not the workers that is heading those corporations. It's not the workers that are owners of those corporations. It's the oligarchs. It's the capitalists. It's the corporate dictators. And because of that, their greed, the shareholders and the CEOs are the ones who are really the biggest blocks to us actually having a living or a thriving wage in states like California, in Texas, Florida, Arkansas, whatever state there is in the union, because they want the money for themselves. They're like goblins. Gimme, gimme, gimme. And so this is why you need to make at least $47.38 an hour in California, or $35 an hour here in Florida, in order to be able to at least survive. To survive. And people are drowning. Workers of one of the biggest corporations in the world is drowning. And they literally had to be sued in order to pay back wages that they should have paid. Should have. This isn't some extra wages that they're paying out. It's stolen, theft. They're criminal. So let's continue and get back to the article. So it says Orange County Superior Court Judge William Claster is set to review the settlement January 17th. Once approved, the notice will go out to every worker with how much money they will receive. The company has been stiffing 55,000 workers for several years. That's from Peter Dreyer. He says they've denied them back pay they're owed while paying the CEO, Bob Iger, over $31 million a year. It's only fair that workers get what's coming to them. And if the world were fair, Iger would take some of it out of his paycheck. Absolutely. As part of the tabulation, Disney agreed to substantial penalties, interest, and other associated fees on top of the back pay owed. This is from Susie Brown. We are pleased that this matter is nearing resolution. Currently, all cast members make at least the Measure L requirement of $19.90 per hour, and in fact, 95% of them make more. The company reached an agreement last summer with 4 unions representing 14,000 workers that raised base pay to $24 an hour. Now, here's the thing. It says $24 an hour. How much did I just tell you that an average worker needs to make in order to afford a 2-bedroom apartment in California? $24 an hour, $47 an hour. You do the math. Disney makes billions upon billions upon billions of dollars every single year. They're giving Bob Iger $31 million a year to run it. How much are the shareholders making in their dividend checks? All because they had a few extra coins and they put it into the stock. And yet, the people who actually make the wealth of Disney, the workers, are making peanuts. Is that fair? Is that just? And you can say, well, no, it's not really fair or just, but what can we do? But then when workers want to go on strike, some of y'all complain. Some of y'all get mad. Some of y'all will say, well, I don't see what they're doing. I mean, they just have to pick themselves up by their bootstraps. They are. They are. That's what they're doing. They're going on strike. They're letting the consumer know, say, hey, you want our labor. Well, our labor is going to cost more. So what are you going to do? But see, this is what happens. They'll find somebody else that's desperate that will accept the starvation wages instead. And then they'll have them come in and do the work. And some of those people also may be undocumented. And that's the sad part. They need a constant influx, a flow of people who are too desperate to say no. See, those people who are too desperate to say no, those were my ancestors back in the day. Now, it's immigrants and people in prison. This is why the system needs to change. The system is a sick system. It's a sick and twisted system. Just like what Kwame Ture said. It's a sick and twisted system. And it absolutely has no need, is not necessary to exist in modern society. People would look at me and go, JB, so what would your fantasy dream Disney World look like? Well, I'm glad you asked. Walt Disney World would be worker owned, not owned in the sense where all the workers have stock options. No. It would be worker owned and operated. All the workers have a democratic say in the major operations of the company. And then they all get profit sharing checks, which they all vote on at the end of each year. All management, all supervisory, management, and executive roles are voted on by every single member, and every single member gets one vote. One worker, one vote. Nobody gets more than one. And everybody, from the janitor to the CEO, they all get a chance to vote on who. And the CEO is a democratic position. They can be voted out by the janitors, by the people who work in food service, by the ride operators, by the people who work the craft services at the studios, by the people who man the phones for the resorts. Yes, those would be the people who vote that person in or out. Nobody in any management or corporate position would ever be allowed to stay there unless the workers say that they can. That's the type of Disney I think what should exist. Bob Iger, if Disney were a worker co-op, Bob Iger would not be getting $31 million in a year. Hail to the no. He will be earning closer to what pretty much almost all of the Disney workers on average make. Because is he working that much harder? He's a glorified coordinator. That's what he is. Glorified coordinator. You do your 40 hours a week, you coordinate, and you go home. People look at me like I'm crazy, but I'm like, no. The workers are what make Disney Disney. So let's finish this article. So the dispute between Disney and its workers dates back to February 2018, with the Coalition of Resort Labor Unions released a Working for the Mouse survey. Co-authored by Dreyer and Daniel Fleming, the study detailed economic hardships faced by Disney workers at the time, including the finding that almost 3/4 of those surveyed said that they didn't earn enough money to cover basic expenses. The reports released arrived in tandem with a living wage ballot initiative campaign championed by the Union Coalition. Anaheim voters voted Measure L, as the wage law is known, that year. Starting in January of 2019, it ordered a minimum wage of $15 an hour for companies in the Anaheim resort that enjoyed tax rebate agreements with the city. Disney did not adjust wages in accordance with the law while negotiating pay raises with individual theme park unions and union councils. In response, Disney workers filed a class action lawsuit in December 2019 that represents 25,000 employees and alleged that the company illegally evaded the wage law. Disney's attorneys argue that the court did not have the tax rebate agreements with Anaheim and was not subject to the terms of the law. At the company's insistence, the Anaheim City Council tore up a 45-year gate tax moratorium and a $267 million bed tax agreement for a planned luxury hotel at downtown Disney before the election. Judge Callister initially agreed with Disney in 2021, but the 4th District Court of Appeal reversed the ruling because a taxable rebate agreement was embedded within a 1996 Disney expansion deal passed by the Anaheim City Council. Disney appealed the decision, but the California Supreme Court declined to hear the case, which effectively ended its legal fight against the wage law. It is a win for the workers that struck it out the resort, and it's a win for the workers that left because they couldn't stand it anymore, but are now getting back pay. It is a testament to their resilience and the fortitude of the labor movement and the workers. So this is a win for the workers. I say that in a measured way because it should be the workers honestly are what make Disney Disney. If the workers were to suddenly leave, Disney would not operate. It would not, it just couldn't operate. And so this is why I think it's absolutely important that we have solidarity with the workers, all the workers. And let me share this as well, because I wanted to share how big of an issue wage theft is. So let me share this as well. Just allow me to. I'll just do it right here. So this is from 2018. This is a graph. And I want to show you this. So look at this box. I want you guys to see this, right? I want you to see how much theft is done from robbery per year. This is from 2018. Look, robbery is this little bitty purple line down here. Robbery, $0.34 billion a year that is in robbery. This is from 2018 now. 2018. So we're talking 6 years. The next biggest is auto theft. Auto theft is $3.8 billion a year. Burglary, $4.10 billion a year. Larceny, $5.3 billion a year. These are the different types of theft that are done per year. And if you want to add them all up, let me see, 7, 5, 12. So about around $13 billion a year. So about all this together is around $13 billion a year in theft. Just from the average Joe workers and stuff like that, right? Or, maybe some white collar crime, right? White collar crime, things like that. But all this in blue. So first one, off the clock violations, $3.2 billion. Rest break violations, $4 billion. Overtime violations, $8.8 billion. Just these three alone. 3 and 4 is 7. 7 and 8 is 15. So we're already greater than this. Just this alone. But then when you add minimum wage violations, we are at $23.2 billion. This is almost $40 billion of wage theft back in 2018. We're in 2024 right now. Do you think that number went down? When Disney has to pay back over $200 million in wage theft violations? Imagine how much wage theft violations are being done by Walmart, Kellogg's, Kroger, Apple, NBC Universal, ExxonMobil, AT&T. Just think of all the wage theft violations that is being done right now. And you mean to tell me that we should just keep capitalism in place? Capitalism. I love the way Richard Wolff expressed this. If capitalism is such a success story, then why in the world is the United States 5% of the world's population but has 25% of the world's prisoners if capitalism is such a success? And I guarantee you, if workers actually made a living or thriving wage, I guarantee you that the robberies, the larcenies, the auto thefts, and all these different things will actually go down. Because some of these things are actually done because of lack of opportunity and lack of and increased desperation. Because people are hurting. I'm not saying it would go away completely, but it would definitely be reduced. Because why would you steal if you don't have a need to? If you're able to have all the things that you need: housing, healthcare, food, education, clean water, transportation. The need to do larceny, burglary, auto theft, or robbery would go down. And so this is why it's so important to focus on these stories. And also, like Roger Meadows always talks about, using the tools that we have in order to change the system. You see what they said. They did a ballot initiative, right? Without that ballot initiative being in place, would they be able to do this? So if you can, then try to think of different ballot initiatives that you can think of in order to change, in order to stiff it to the corporations. We got to think of different, more elegant ways to stiff it to the organizations, right? Stiff it to ways and organizations that don't have blowback on us, while we still organize in these streets in order to change the system fundamentally. But that's what we can do. But I'm happy that they were able to do that. Good on them. you know, this is a good story, but we can do better. We can do better. We can definitely do better. Thank you so very much for watching my channel, and I deeply appreciate it from the top and bottom of my heart. If you wish to support the channel further, so I can keep bringing you content that is educational and informative, you can become a patron on patreon.com/Jaybefaunt. You can find that link in the pinned comment or in the description below. No matter what you give, you'll be supporting independent media and education that helps make the world better. Thank you so much, and you can watch more of my content here. Mwah. Forehead kisses, and have a beautiful day.